I walked into my own kitchen and found sticky notes on everything in the refrigerator. Michelle's Greek yogurt, do not touch. Michelle's organic kale, hands off. Michelle's artisanal cheese, Eleanor. This means you. My name is Eleanor. I'm 68 years old, and apparently, I needed permission to eat food in my own house. But here's the thing my daughter-in-law Michelle didn't know. I had paid for that refrigerator. I had paid for the house it was standing in. And I was about to teach her the most expensive lesson about labeling things that don't belong to you. Stick around, because by the end of this story, Michelle is going to learn that when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And trust me, the prize she won was absolutely hilarious. Let me paint you a picture of how I ended up in this ridiculous situation. 6 months ago, my son Derek called me with that voice. You know the one. The mom, I need something, but I'm going to pretend this is actually good for you voice. Mom, Michelle and I were thinking, wouldn't it be nice if we all lived together? You have that big house. We're paying so much in rent, and this way we could all spend more quality time together. Quality time. That should have been my first red flag. But I'm a widow. My husband Frank passed away 2 years ago, and the house had been feeling pretty empty. Derek is my only child, and I hadn't met my granddaughter Lily yet. She was only 6 months old. So, against my better judgment, I said yes. Of course, honey. Family should stick together. Famous last words. They moved in on a Saturday. I had spent the entire week preparing. I cleared out 2 bedrooms, bought a crib for baby Lily, stocked the kitchen with all of Derek's favorite foods from childhood. I even bought one of those fancy diaper genies because Michelle had mentioned on the phone that regular trash cans weren't sufficient for disposing of diapers. I should have known right then. Michelle arrived like a general, inspecting enemy territory. She's 32, works in marketing, and has never met a trend she didn't immediately adopt and then lord over everyone else. You know the type. Everything is curated. Everything is intentional. Everything has to be elevated. She walked through my house with her phone out, taking photos of everything. What are you doing, sweetheart? I asked, trying to be friendly. Oh, just documenting the before for my Instagram followers. I'm thinking we can really elevate this space. Very cottagecore meets minimalist Scandinavian. Your decorating style is very 1987. My decorating style was 1987 because that's when Frank and I bought most of this furniture. With our own money, after working 60-hour weeks. But I smiled. Well, I'm sure we can make it work for everyone. Derek gave me an apologetic look. He's always been caught in the middle, my son. Good heart, but somewhere along the way, he'd traded his spine for a wedding ring. The first week was tense. Michelle rearranged my kitchen cabinets because the workflow was inefficient. She moved my reading chair because it blocked the natural light pathway. She even tried to throw out my collection of coffee mugs because they were cluttering the aesthetic. Those mugs were from every vacation Frank and I took together. But sure, they were cluttering the aesthetic. I bit my tongue. They had a new baby. Michelle was probably just stressed and trying to feel at home. Give it time, Eleanor, I told myself. Give it time. Then came the refrigerator incident. It started innocently enough. My old refrigerator had been making a weird grinding noise for months. It finally died on a Tuesday, making a sound like a wounded elephant before giving up entirely. Don't worry, Mom, Derek said. Michelle and I can split the cost with you for a new one. That's sweet, honey, but I can handle it. No, really, we insist. We're living here. We should contribute. I should have listened to that little voice in my head, the one that was screaming, "It's a trap," but I didn't. I went to the appliance store, found a beautiful stainless steel French door refrigerator with all the bells and whistles and put it on my credit card. When I told Derek the price, he whistled. That's more than we budgeted, Mom. How about Michelle and I just pay for groceries for a few months instead? Fine, whatever. I had the money. Frank had been a smart investor, and I was comfortable. I didn't need their contribution. The new refrigerator arrived on Friday. It was beautiful. Ice maker, water filter, separate temperature zones. I was actually excited about it. That's when Michelle decided to assert her dominance. I came home from my book club on Saturday morning, and there they were, sticky notes, everywhere. The entire refrigerator looked like a rainbow explosion of passive-aggressive territorial marking. Michelle's zone. Derek, you can have some on the top shelf. Baby Lily's organic food. Extremely expensive, do not use on the second shelf. Michelle's meal prep. Took 4 hours to make. Eleanor, please ask before touching, on the containers in the middle. Even the condiments weren't safe. Michelle's tahini, $18, replace if used. I stood there, groceries in hand, staring at my own refrigerator like it was some kind of modern art installation about the collapse of family values. Michelle? I called out, keeping my voice level. Can you come here for a minute? She appeared, baby Lily on her hip, looking like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. Yes, Eleanor? Eleanor. Not Mom. Not even Derek's mom. Just Eleanor, like I was her roommate she barely tolerated. What's all this? I gestured to the refrigerator. Oh, her face lit up. I'm so glad you noticed. I implemented an organization system. You see, I follow this influencer who talks about reducing household friction through clear boundary communication. Everyone gets their designated zones, and this way we avoid any confusion about who bought what. In my refrigerator, that I bought. In my house. Well, technically, Derek and I were going to contribute, but you didn't. Her smile tightened. We're contributing in other ways. Groceries, utilities. I pay the utilities, Michelle. Well, we're going to start contributing more. That's why this system is so important, so everyone knows what belongs to whom. I took a deep breath. Pick your battles, Eleanor. Okay. I understand wanting to keep things organized, but maybe we could use a different system? One that doesn't require labeling every single item? This is the system that works best. Trust me, I've researched this extensively. And she walked away. Just like that. Derek found me 10 minutes later, still standing in front of the refrigerator, holding a container of yogurt with a sticky note that said, Michelle's, contains probiotics she needs, $7 per container. Mom, I'm sorry about the labels. Michelle's just really particular about her food organization. Derek, this is my house. I know. But she's been really stressed with the baby, and this makes her feel like she has some control. Can you just let her have this one? Please? Looking at my son's exhausted face, I agreed. Again, biggest mistake of my life. Over the next month, Michelle's label situation went from annoying to absolutely insane. She didn't just label food anymore. Oh no, that would be too reasonable. She labeled the shelves themselves. Michelle's shelf, in big letters, right at eye level. She labeled the vegetable drawers. Michelle's organic produce, only Eleanor, the farmer's market, is on Saturdays, if you'd like to get your own. She even labeled the ice maker. Filtered water for Lily's bottles, please don't contaminate with regular ice. But the cheese incident was what broke me. I love cheese. I'm talking serious cheese appreciation. Every week, I'd go to this little specialty shop downtown and buy whatever looked interesting. It was my one indulgence, my little treat to myself. This particular week, I'd found an incredible aged Gruyère. The guy at the shop said it had been aging for 18 months. It cost $42. I was planning to have it with some crackers and wine while watching my favorite British mystery show. I came home from my water aerobics class, opened the refrigerator, and there it was. My beautiful, expensive Gruyère, covered in a label that said, Michelle's Fancy Cheese. Found this in the fridge, claimed it for dinner party on Saturday. Eleanor, maybe stick to the pre-sliced cheddar? I saw red. Not metaphorically. I literally saw red spots in my vision. I marched upstairs to where Michelle was folding baby clothes with that serene expression she always wore when she was about to gaslight someone. Michelle, that cheese has a label on it. Yes. Isn't the system working great? Everything's so organized now. That's my cheese. I bought it yesterday. Oh. She didn't even look up from her folding. Well, I didn't see your name on it, so I assumed it was communal. That's why the labeling system is so important. If you want to keep something for yourself, you need to mark it. I need to mark my own food in my own refrigerator, in my own house. Eleanor, we've talked about this. This is a shared space now. We all need to respect the system you created without asking anyone. She finally looked up, and there was something in her eyes, something calculating. Derek and I contribute to this household. We have just as much right to designate our space as you do. If you're not comfortable with that, maybe we need to have a conversation about boundaries and expectations. It was a threat, thinly veiled, but a threat nonetheless. Get on board with her program, or there would be conversations with Derek where I'd be made to feel like the unreasonable one. I walked away, but something had shifted in me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Frank. What would he say about this situation? Frank, who built this house with his own hands. Frank, who worked 2 jobs so we could afford to send Derek to a good college. Frank, who always said, "Eleanor, don't let people take advantage of your kind heart." I got up and went down to the kitchen. The refrigerator hummed softly in the darkness. I opened it and looked at all those labels, glowing in the refrigerator light like tiny declarations of war. And that's when I saw it. The label on the refrigerator itself. On the door panel, where the brand name usually was, Michelle had placed a label that said, "Michelle and Derek's Family Fridge, purchased 2024. She had labeled my refrigerator as hers, the refrigerator I paid for, in the house I owned. I closed the door very carefully. Then I went to my bedroom, opened my laptop, and started researching tenant eviction laws in my state. The next morning, I called my friend Margaret. Margaret is 72, has been through 3 divorces, and doesn't take nonsense from anyone. She labeled what? Margaret practically screamed into the phone. The refrigerator. She put a label claiming it as hers. "Eleanor! Eleanor! Do you want me to come over there and throw this girl out? Because I will. I'm old. What are they going to do? Arrest me?" I laughed for the first time in weeks. "No, Margaret. I need to do this the right way. But I need information first." "What kind of information?" "The kind that tells me exactly what I'm dealing with." Margaret understood immediately. "You think this is about more than labels." "I think," I said slowly, "that someone who is this obsessed with claiming territory in someone else's house might have a bigger plan." I spent the next week being very, very observant. I noticed that Michelle was taking photos of everything in the house, not just for Instagram aesthetic purposes. She was documenting, room by room, item by item. I noticed that she'd started referring to various things as ours when talking to her mother on the phone. Our house is so spacious. Our kitchen has so much natural light. Our neighborhood is so quiet. I noticed that Derek had started avoiding eye contact with me. And then I found the notebook. I wasn't snooping. I want to be clear about that. I was putting away some baby clothes that had been left in the dryer, and the notebook fell out of the laundry basket Michelle had left in the hallway. It fell open to a page dated 2 weeks earlier. Phase 1. Establish presence and territorial control. Complete Phase 2. Document all assets and improvements in progress. Phase 3. Research grandmother rights and elder cohabitation laws. Phase 4. Consult with lawyer about establishing permanent residency rights. Phase 5. My blood ran cold. I took photos of every page. There were notes about my daily routine, my health conditions. How did she know about my arthritis? My diminishing capacity to maintain property, and a detailed list of everything in the house with estimated values. There was even a highlighted section. D's inheritance, house valued at $680,000. Property taxes, $8,000 annually. If we establish primary residence, plus contribute to maintenance equals legal claim. They were planning to take my house, not through inheritance, not by waiting. They were planning to establish some kind of legal claim by documenting their contributions and my supposed inability to manage the property alone. I sat on the hallway floor, staring at those photos on my phone, feeling like the world's biggest fool. All those labels weren't about organization. They were about establishing ownership, creating a paper trail of their investment in the household. The refrigerator label, the improvement photos, the constant boundary talk. It was all a con. And my son was in on it. I'm not a vengeful person by nature. I'm really not. I volunteer at the library. I foster senior dogs. I say bless you when people sneeze, even if I don't know them. But what Michelle and Derek were doing, that wasn't just wrong. It was calculated. It was predatory. And it was happening in the house my husband built with his own 2 hands. So I called my lawyer. His name is Mr. Bernard Chen, and he's been handling my affairs since Frank died. He's sharp, thorough, and has a very particular sense of humor about people who try to pull fast ones. Eleanor, he said after I explained the situation, I want you to do absolutely nothing. Act completely normal. Can you do that? I think so. Good. Because we're going to let them think they're winning, right up until the moment they realize they've lost. Over the next 2 weeks, I was an Academy Award-worthy actress. I let Michelle label everything. I even started asking her permission to use her things. Michelle, would it be okay if I used some of this olive oil? I'll replace it, of course. Oh, Eleanor, of course. See, the system works when everyone respects it. I watched her document everything. I even posed for some of her photos. Michelle, you're so good at this organization stuff. You should really be in charge of the whole house. Her eyes lit up. Really? You'd be open to that? Why not? You're so much better at this modern living stuff than I am. Meanwhile, Mr. Chen was working magic. He filed a formal eviction notice, citing the end of a temporary cohabitation arrangement, because they'd never signed a lease, never paid rent, and I'd explicitly stated it was temporary in my initial invitation. Thank God I'd put that in writing in a text. They had very few legal protections. He also prepared a cease and desist letter regarding their documentation of my property and their potential fraud in claiming improvements they hadn't paid for. And this was the beautiful part. He contacted Derek's employer's HR department about a completely unrelated matter. Turns out, Derek had been claiming home office deductions on his taxes for working from his home office at my address, but he'd never established legal residency. That's tax fraud adjacent. Mr. Chen wasn't threatening to report him. Oh no. He just made sure Derek's HR knew that there might be some address discrepancies that needed to be cleared up for their records. Everything was legal. Everything was documented. Everything was airtight. Eleanor, Mr. Chen said on the phone, they have exactly 2 choices. They can leave quietly, or they can try to fight this and end up with legal bills they can't afford, plus potential fraud charges. Your call on which option you want to give them. Let's give them both options, I said, and let's see which one they choose. The day I decided to drop the bomb was a Saturday. Michelle was hosting her dinner party, the one she was planning to use my $42 cheese for. She'd invited 6 of her influencer friends. They were all in my living room, drinking wine that Derek had bought on my credit card, I later discovered, talking about their content strategies and engagement metrics. Michelle was showing them around the house like she owned it. This is our kitchen. We just did a complete organizational overhaul. And this is our dining room. We're thinking of painting it mindful gray next month. I walked in with a plate of crackers and cheese. My cheese. The Gruyère I'd bought with my own money, that Michelle had labeled as hers. Ladies, I said with my biggest smile, please help yourselves. This is a very special cheese. Aged 18 months, $42, worth every penny. Michelle's face went white. She knew that I knew. One of her friends, a girl named Sage, yes, really, gushed. Oh my God, Michelle, you have the best taste. Where do you find these cheeses? Actually, I said, settling into my chair, I find them at Bernard's cheese shop downtown. I've been going there for 30 years. The owner knows me by name. Awkward silence. Eleanor, Michelle said through gritted teeth. Don't you have your book club tonight? Oh, I canceled. I wanted to be here for your party. After all, this is my house. You could have heard a pin drop. We live here too, Eleanor, Michelle said carefully. Do you, though? One of her friends nervously checked her phone. Another suddenly remembered she had to leave early. Derek appeared from upstairs. Mom, can I talk to you in the kitchen? Absolutely, son. In the kitchen, Derek looked like he was about to throw up. Mom, what are you doing? You're embarrassing Michelle in front of her friends. Am I? I'm just stating facts. This is my house. That is my cheese. These are my guests, in a way, since they're in my home. You said we were family. You said we could live here. I said you could stay temporarily. I never said you could take over my entire house, label everything like you own it, and plan to steal my property. His face went from red to white in about 2 seconds. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos of Michelle's notebook. I found this 2 weeks ago. Did you really think I wouldn't notice you were documenting everything? Planning to establish some kind of legal claim? Mom, that's Michelle's project notebook. It's not. Phase 3. Research grandmother rights and elder cohabitation laws. I read aloud. Phase 4. Consult with lawyer about establishing permanent residency rights. Derek, you're my son, my only child, and you were planning to steal my house. We weren't stealing, we were just exploring options for the future. Options for taking what isn't yours. Michelle appeared in the doorway. Her friends were gone. Derek, what's going on? Eleanor found your notebook, Derek said miserably. What notebook? She was a decent actress, I'll give her that. The one where you detail your plan to take over my house. The one where you document my diminishing capacity. The one where you calculate exactly how much you think you can claim by establishing residency. Michelle's mask finally cracked. That was just research. We were trying to understand our options. Your options for what? Legally stealing from me? You're a widow, Eleanor. This house is too big for you. You're going to end up selling it anyway. Or going into a nursing home. And then what? Derek gets nothing because it all goes to taxes and estate fees? We were thinking ahead. There it was. The real Michelle. Not the polite, organized daughter-in-law. The calculating con artist who saw an elderly widow as a mark. So your solution was to take it from me now, while I'm still alive? We were establishing a framework. Derek is your son. He has a right. He has a right to inherit when I die. If I choose to leave him anything, he doesn't have a right to take it before then. This is ridiculous. Michelle's voice was rising. We contribute. We help. We're family. You labeled my cheese, Michelle. What? You labeled my cheese. I was calm now, eerily calm. You took my $42 Gruyère, put a sticky note on it claiming it as yours, and were planning to serve it to your friends while pretending you bought it. That's who you are, someone who steals cheese and claims it's theirs. It's just cheese. No, it's not. It's about respect. It's about boundaries. It's about not being a thief in someone else's home. Derek tried to intervene. Mom, please, let's all calm down. I pulled out the envelope Mr. Chen had given me. This is a formal eviction notice. You have 30 days to vacate my property. Michelle snatched the paper. You can't evict us. We live here. We have a baby. You never signed a lease. You never paid rent. You were guests. And now you're not. Derek, say something. Michelle turned to him, her voice desperate. Derek looked between us. Mom, we have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before you tried to steal my house. We're family. Family doesn't con each other. Family doesn't label my refrigerator and claim it's theirs. Family doesn't document my diminishing capacity to use against me in court. Michelle was crying now, but they were angry tears. Fine, fine. We'll leave your precious house, but we're taking everything we brought, everything we contributed. Absolutely, I said. Take every single thing you paid for. This is where things got hilarious. Michelle, in her rage and her desire to prove that she had contributed significantly to the household, decided to document exactly what she was taking. We're taking everything, she announced, stomping around like a toddler. Everything we bought, everything we contributed, everything with our names on it. Go ahead, I said, sitting calmly at my kitchen table with a cup of tea. She started in the kitchen. This coffee maker? Ours. We bought it. Actually, that was a wedding gift to Frank and me from his sister in 1985. But if you want to claim it, I'll need to see your receipt. No receipt. These plates? Ours. Noritake China, complete set, purchased by me in 1992. Original packaging in the attic. Would you like me to get it? No plates taken. This went on for hours. Every single thing Michelle claimed to have bought, I had receipts for. Because I'm 70 years old and I keep receipts for major purchases. But the refrigerator? That's where the real show began. Michelle stormed to the kitchen, yanked open the refrigerator door, and started grabbing everything with her labels on it. All of this? Mine. I'm taking all of it. She grabbed the Greek yogurt, the organic kale, the artisanal cheese, not my Gruyère, which I'd already hidden, the expensive tahini, the meal prep containers, the baby food, everything. She filled box after box, reading each label out loud triumphantly. Michelle's quinoa, taking it. Michelle's organic blueberries, mine. Michelle's grass-fed butter, coming with me. Derek was trying to help her, both of them working frantically to empty every item that had a label on it. I just watched, sipping my tea. Margaret showed up. I texted her to come watch the show and sat next to me. Is she really taking all the food? Margaret whispered. Every labeled item. I confirmed. But where are they going to put it? Don't they have to find an apartment first? I assume she's thought of that. She had not thought of that. After filling 6 boxes with refrigerated food, Michelle suddenly stopped. Derek, where are we taking all this? Derek looked up, arms full of labeled containers. I thought we were going to your mother's? We can't go to my mother's with 6 boxes of perishable food. She doesn't have room in her fridge. Well, I thought we'd get a hotel for a few days. And keep 6 boxes of food in a hotel mini-fridge? They stared at each other. Then at the boxes. Then at the now nearly empty refrigerator. We'll have to throw it away, Derek said finally. Throw it away? Michelle shrieked. Do you know how much this organic food costs? Do you know how long I spent meal prepping? Well, what else can we do? We can't leave it here. It's mine. It has my labels on it. Margaret leaned over to me. Should we tell them they could just leave the food and take the labels off? Absolutely not, I whispered back. This is better than cable TV. Michelle, in a fit of determination, decided they would take the food anyway and figure it out. They loaded 6 boxes of refrigerated and frozen items into Derek's car. In August. In Texas heat. Michelle, this is going to spoil in an hour. Derek tried to reason. I don't care. It's mine. The labels say so. And off they went. Car loaded with slowly warming organic produce, grass-fed meats, and artisanal cheeses. After they left, Margaret and I stood in front of my refrigerator. It was completely empty, except for one thing. The labels. Every single sticky note was still there, stuck to the now empty shelves. Michelle's Greek yogurt, do not touch, on an empty shelf. Michelle's organic kale, hands off, where no kale existed. Michelle's artisanal cheese, Eleanor, this means you protecting absolutely nothing. We laughed until we cried. They came back 3 hours later. Michelle's car had broken down. The air conditioning couldn't handle running constantly to keep 6 boxes of groceries cool, and all the food had spoiled. Derek looked defeated. Michelle looked like she was going to spontaneously combust. We need to get some things from upstairs, Derek said quietly. Of course, take your time. While they were packing their personal items, I did something petty. I fully admit it was petty, but it was also hilarious. I took photos of the empty refrigerator with all the labels still on it, every single one. Then I made myself a cheese plate with my $42 Gruyère, poured a glass of wine, and posted the photos to Facebook with the caption, "When someone labels all their food in your refrigerator and then takes everything but the labels, at least my fridge is organized." I tagged Derek. Within an hour, I had 200 reactions and 50 comments. Turns out, everyone in my book club, my water aerobics class, and my church group had been waiting for me to stand up to Michelle. Finally! We've been watching her boss you around for months. Carol from book club. About time. That girl needed to learn some manners. Ruth from water aerobics potters. Eleanor, you are my hero. Can I share this? Margaret, I said yes. By the time Derek and Michelle came back downstairs with their suitcases, the post had been shared 30 times. Michelle saw me looking at my phone and smiling. What's so funny? Oh, nothing, just sharing some photos with friends. She grabbed her phone and went pale. You posted about this on Facebook? Just some pictures of my organized refrigerator. You made us look ridiculous. I didn't make you do anything, Michelle. You took everything with your labels on it. I just documented it. Derek. She's humiliating us on social media. Derek, to his credit, actually looked at his phone and then at me. Mom, you tagged me. I did. Was that wrong? I thought you'd want to be included. For a moment, I thought Derek might actually laugh. His mouth twitched, but Michelle's glare killed any humor that might have escaped. We're leaving, Michelle announced, and we're never coming back. The eviction notice gives you 30 days, but if you'd like to leave sooner, that's fine. We don't need your 30 days. Actually, Derek said quietly, we might need a few days to find a place. No, Michelle was spiraling. We are not staying here one more night. We'll go to a hotel. Michelle, we can't afford. I don't care what we can afford. We're leaving now. They left. In a hurry. In the rain that had started falling. I watched them go. And I felt light. Margaret stayed for dinner. We ordered pizza. Delivered. Because I'm not a monster. And we ate it off my Noritake china while sitting in my living room. Eleanor, Margaret said, I have to ask. Did you plan the timing of that post? What do you mean? You posted it right when they were upstairs packing. You knew they'd see it before they left. I smiled into my wine glass. Margaret, I'm 68 years old. I'm not clever enough to plan something like that. Bull. We laughed. The next few weeks were interesting. Derek texted me apologetic messages, but they were weak. Mom, I'm sorry, things got out of hand. Michelle is just really stressed. I didn't respond. Michelle's mother called me, which was bold considering we'd met exactly once at the wedding. Eleanor, I understand there was some kind of disagreement. Your daughter tried to steal my house. I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding. She documented my diminishing capacity and researched how to establish a legal claim on my property. That's not a misunderstanding. That's fraud. Well, I'm sure Derek will inherit eventually anyway. Maybe not. I'm thinking of leaving everything to the senior dog rescue. I wasn't really, but the silence on the other end was worth it. You wouldn't do that to your own grandchild. Your daughter should have thought about that before she labeled my cheese. I hung up. It felt good. The Facebook post continued to spread. Michelle's influencer friends started commenting. Oh my God, Michelle, is this you? Michelle, didn't you say this was your house? Wait, you labeled someone else's food? Michelle's Instagram, which she'd been so proud of, became a liability. People started going through her old posts. Our beautiful kitchen renovation. Not her kitchen. Our cozy living room, not her living room. Our garden space where Lily can play, not her garden. Someone made a TikTok about it. When you're an influencer, but you're influencing people to think you own things that aren't yours. It got 500,000 views. Michelle deleted all her social media. Derek called me, finally, 3 weeks later. Mom, Michelle wants to apologize. No. What? No. I don't want her apology. It won't be sincere, and I don't have the energy to pretend it matters. But we need to make this right. Derek, do you have any idea what you and Michelle tried to do to me? Silence. You tried to take my home. The home your father built. The home where I raised you. The home where every single item has a memory attached to it. And you were going to take it through legal manipulation and lies. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. And the worst part? You were going to do it while I was still alive. while I still lived here. You were going to force me out of my own home. Mom, I would never have let it get to that point. Then why were you researching it? Why did Michelle have a 5-phase plan? Why were you documenting everything? More silence. I'm weak, he said finally. Michelle wanted this, and I was too weak to say no. I'm sorry. It was the first real apology I'd gotten. Derek, I love you. You're my son, and I'll always love you. But I don't trust you anymore, and that's something we both have to live. Die. Can we fix this? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Maybe, eventually, but it's going to take time, a lot of time, and it's going to require you to actually stand up to your wife when she's wrong. I know. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you've spent the last 6 months letting her run roughshod over me in my own home. You watched her label my food, rearrange my house, and treat me like an inconvenience. And you said nothing. I said things to her privately. Derek, that's not enough. When someone disrespects your mother in her own home, you don't handle it privately. You handle it immediately and publicly. You draw a line. He was quiet for a long time. You're right. I know I am. I'm old, not stupid. He laughed a little at that. It was a sad laugh, but it was something. Mom, we found an apartment. It's small, but it's ours. Well, it's a rental, but we're paying for it ourselves. That's good, Derek. That's adult behavior. Michelle got a full-time job. She had to take down all her influencer stuff because of what happened. I felt a tiny bit bad about that. Tiny, very tiny. She's working at a marketing firm. Regular hours, regular paycheck. No more content creation about other people's houses. Good for her. She's different now. Humbled, I guess. She cried for 3 days straight after we moved out. Derek, I'm not going to feel sorry for her. I'm not asking you to. I just want you to know that we're trying to do better. Okay. Can I bring Lily by sometime? I know you haven't really gotten to know her, and I hate that this whole situation took that away. My heart squeezed. Lily, my granddaughter. I'd barely spent time with her, because Michelle had always been there, controlling every interaction. Let me think about it. Okay, that's fair. After I hung up with Derek, I sat in my quiet house and realized something. I was lonely. Not for them. Not for the chaos and the labels and the constant territorial warfare, but for family. For the idea of what I thought it was going to be. Margaret came over that evening. She took one look at my face and said, Derek called. How did you know? Because you have that look. The I won, but I'm not sure it feels like winning look. He wants to bring Lily by. And I don't know if I can do it. What if Michelle comes? What if this is just another manipulation? Margaret sat down across from me. Eleanor, can I tell you something? Always. You're allowed to have boundaries and relationships. They're not mutually exclusive. What do you mean? I mean, you can let Derek bring Lily over without letting Michelle back into your life. You can have a relationship with your granddaughter without forgiving your daughter-in-law. You can be a grandmother without being a doormat. But what if nothing? You set the terms. Derek comes with Lily, alone, on your schedule, in your home. Michelle stays away until you decide otherwise, if ever. Can I do that? Eleanor, you evicted your own son and daughter-in-law over cheese labels. I think you can handle setting visiting hours. She was right. I called Derek back. You can bring Lily over on Sunday afternoons. Just you and her. 2 hours. We'll see how it goes. Mom, thank you. Conditions. Michelle doesn't come. You don't talk about Michelle unless I ask. You don't try to convince me to forgive her or reconcile or any of that. We focus on Lily. Okay. Yes. Agreed. And Derek, if you break these conditions even once, we go back to no contact. Am I clear? Crystal clear. That first Sunday was awkward. Derek showed up with Lily, who was now 8 months old and absolutely adorable. He'd clearly dressed her in the cutest outfit he could find. probably hoping her cuteness would smooth things over. It worked a little. Lily had Frank's eyes, my husband's eyes, looking at me from this tiny person who had no idea about any of the drama that had surrounded her birth. "She's beautiful," I said, and I meant it. "She has your nose," Derek said, trying to break the ice. "Poor thing." He laughed, a real laugh. We spent 2 hours on the floor of my living room, playing with blocks and reading board books. Derek told me about his new job. He'd switched companies to one closer to their apartment. He told me about their tiny kitchen and how Michelle was learning to cook without organic everything because they couldn't afford it. He didn't complain. He just stated facts. When it was time to go, Lily reached for me. Actually reached her little arms out for me to hold her. I picked her up, and she laid her head on my shoulder. "She likes you," Derek said softly. "Of course she does. I'm delightful." He smiled. "Same time next week?" "Same time next week." Word got around town about what happened. Small town, big gossip network. The ladies at my water aerobics class treated me like a celebrity. "Eleanor, I heard you threw them out over a cheese." It wasn't just the cheese, Linda. But the cheese was the last straw? The cheese was symbolic. Symbolic of what? Of not letting people take what's yours just because they put a label on it? That resonated with more people than I expected. Women started sharing their own stories. Carol's sister, who let her daughter-in-law reorganize her entire life until she didn't recognize it. Ruth's friend, whose son's family moved in and slowly pushed her into the guest room of her own house. Margaret's cousin, who lost her home because she signed papers she didn't understand. We started a group. Unofficially, of course. We called it the Label Removers. Every Thursday we met at the library. I volunteer there, remember? And we talked about boundaries, self-respect, and not letting people steal your cheese. We helped a woman whose daughter had opened credit cards in her name. We supported another woman who needed to evict her nephew. We even helped one lady get her prized rose garden back from a neighbor who decided it was technically on the property line, so basically shared space. It became a thing. The local newspaper even did a story about us. Senior Women's Group helps others set boundaries. They interviewed me. "Mrs. Eleanor, what inspired you to start this group?" "Someone labeled my cheese." "I'm sorry?" "Someone labeled my $42 aged Gruyère as theirs. In my refrigerator, in my house. And I realized that if I let that stand, I was letting everything stand. Everything? All the little disrespects. All the boundary crossings. All the times someone made me feel like I didn't have the right to my own life in my own home." The reporter loved it. The headline was, "Local Woman Creates Support Group After Cheese Incident." It went semi-viral online. Not Michelle-level influencer viral, but local news picked up by regional outlets viral. I got emails from women across the state, across the country even. "Thank you for standing up for yourself. Your story inspired me to set boundaries with my own family. I've been letting my son's girlfriend treat me like a guest in my own home. Not anymore." It was overwhelming and wonderful. Michelle found out about it, of course. Derek told me she'd seen the newspaper article and had thoughts. "What kind of thoughts?" I asked. "She thinks you're making her look bad. I haven't mentioned her name once in any interview or group meeting." "I know, I told her that. She says everyone knows it's about her anyway." Well, if the label fits. Derek actually laughed at that. 3 months after they moved out, I got a knock on my door. It was Michelle, alone. I almost didn't open it. My hand was on the doorknob, and I seriously considered just pretending I wasn't home. But curiosity got the better of me. She looked terrible. Not terrible in a she's falling apart way, terrible in a she's been crying and thinking hard way. "Eleanor, I know you don't want to see me." "Correct. I need 5 minutes. Please." Against my better judgment, I let her in. We stood in the foyer. I didn't invite her to sit. "I'm not here to ask for forgiveness," she started. "Good, because you're not getting it. I'm here to explain, not to justify, just to explain." I crossed my arms. 5 minutes. I was raised by a woman who had nothing. My mom worked 3 jobs. We lived in a trailer. I ate free lunch at school. And I promised myself that when I grew up, I would never, ever be vulnerable like that again. So you decided to steal from old ladies? No. I decided to control everything. If I controlled everything, the space, the resources, the plans, then I couldn't be hurt. I couldn't be left with nothing. Michelle, lots of people grow up poor. They don't all turn into con artists. I know. She was crying now. I'm in therapy. I started going after we moved out, and my therapist asked me what I was so afraid of, and I realized I was afraid of being my mother, of having nothing, of being powerless. So you tried to take power in my house. Yes. And I'm not asking you to understand or forgive me. I just needed you to know that it was never about you. It was about my own fear and control issues. That doesn't make it better, Michelle. I know. It makes it worse, actually, because it means I hurt you for no good reason. There was no malice, just brokenness. We stood there in silence. The labels, I finally said. Why the labels? Because if I labeled something, it was mine. It couldn't be taken away. It was concrete. It was proof. Proof of what? That I existed. That I had something. That I mattered. I understood that more than I wanted to admit. Michelle, you can't steal security. You can't label your way into feeling safe. I know that now. Do you? Or are you just saying what you think I want to hear? I lost everything. My Instagram following. My influencer career. My confidence. Derek barely talks to me some days. And you know what the worst part is? What? I deserve it. All of it. And that cheese you bought? The one I labeled? The Gruyère? I looked it up. $42 for a piece of cheese. And I just took it. Labeled it like it was mine. Like I had any right to it. She looked at me with genuine remorse. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I know what I did. I own it. And I'm trying to be better. Are you? I'm working. Full-time, regular hours. I'm seeing a therapist. I'm learning to live within our means. I'm trying to teach myself that my worth isn't tied to what I own or control. That's good, Michelle. I don't expect us to be friends. Or family, really. I needed you to know that you were right. About everything. After she left, I sat in my chair for a long time. Margaret called. I saw Michelle's car outside. Do I need to come over with a weapon? No. She just came to apologize. Did you accept? I didn't accept or reject. I just listened. And I think she might actually be growing up. Huh. Yeah. 6 months after the Great Cheese Incident, as it became known in my friend group, my life looked completely different. Derek brought Lily over every Sunday, without fail. We had a routine now. We'd play in the morning, have lunch. I learned to make Lily's favorite macaroni and cheese, the irony not lost on me. And then she'd nap while Derek and I talked. Real talks. About his marriage, his fears, his guilt. Mom, I think I need therapy too. Probably. Michelle's therapist recommended a couples counselor. Are you going? Yeah. Twice a week. It's expensive, but it's necessary. Good. I think I was afraid of becoming like Dad. That surprised me. What do you mean? Dad was so strong, so sure of himself. I never saw him struggle with anything. And I thought, if I admitted I was struggling, if I admitted I couldn't control Michelle or the situation, it meant I was weak. Derek, your father struggled plenty. He just didn't show it to you. Really? Really? Why do you think he worked so much? Why do you think he built that workshop in the garage and spent hours out there alone? I thought he just liked woodworking. He did. But he also needed space to process his feelings. Your father dealt with depression after his parents died. He dealt with anxiety about money when we were younger. He dealt with all of it quietly because that's how men of his generation were taught to cope. I never knew. He didn't want you to know. He wanted you to see strength. But that's what made me weak. I thought strength meant never struggling, never needing help. So when I did need help, when I couldn't stand up to Michelle, I just crumbled. Strength is knowing when you need help, Derek. Real strength is admitting you're wrong. The label removers group had grown to 35 regular members. We were making a real difference. One woman got her house back from her son who'd been temporarily living there for 5 years. Another woman reclaimed her savings account that her grandson had slowly been draining. A third woman finally pressed charges against her daughter-in-law for elder financial abuse. We celebrated each victory with cheese and wine at my house. Always cheese. It became our symbol. To Eleanor's $42 Gruyère, Margaret would toast. The cheese that started a revolution, someone else would add. We'd laugh and eat and share stories. The local news came back to do a follow-up story. 6 months later, the label removers group expands. This time, other women were interviewed too. Eleanor taught me that setting boundaries isn't mean. It's necessary. I used to feel guilty saying no to family. Now I understand that no is a complete sentence. My daughter-in-law tried to take over my kitchen. I labeled everything that was mine. Not to claim it, I already owned it all, but to remind myself that I had the right to my own space. The reporter asked me how it felt to have started a movement. I didn't start anything. I just refused to let someone steal my cheese. But the truth was more complicated. I had started something. Not intentionally, but I had. I'd started a conversation about dignity, about respect, about not letting fear or guilt or family obligation erase your right to your own life. It's been a year now since the Great Cheese Incident. Derek and Michelle are still married. They're still in therapy. They're still working on their issues. I see Derek and Lily every week. I've even seen Michelle a handful of times, though only briefly, and only when I've agreed to it in advance. She's different now, quieter, less performative. She actually asks me questions instead of talking at me. Last month, she brought me a gift, a small one, wrapped carefully. "I don't want to intrude," she said, handing it to me at the door. "I just saw this and thought of you." It was a cheese board, a beautiful wooden cheese board with a small engraving. To Eleanor, who taught me the value of boundaries. Michelle. I didn't cry. I'm not that sentimental, but I did invite her in for coffee. We sat in my kitchen, the kitchen she'd tried to take over a year ago, and we talked like adults. "I'm not asking to be friends," she said. "Good. Because we're not. But maybe someday we could be friendly? Maybe." Emphasis on maybe. She smiled. It was a real smile, not the performative influencer smile. "That's more than I deserve." "Yes, it is." We both laughed. My refrigerator now has exactly one label on it. It's on the bottom shelf, on a container of aged Gruyère from Bernard's cheese shop. The label says, Eleanor's. Don't even think about it. Yes, I'm talking to you, Margaret. Margaret saw it last week and laughed so hard she cried. "I wasn't going to take your cheese." "Sure you weren't." "Okay. I was going to take one small piece, hence the label." The label removers group is still going strong. We're actually applying for nonprofit status. We want to expand, help more people, maybe even create a legal fund for seniors dealing with financial abuse from family members. At our last meeting, a new member asked me, "Do you ever regret how you handled things? Do you wish you'd been less harsh?" I thought about it. "No," I said finally, "because being kind to people who are hurting you isn't kindness. It's just slow suicide. I was kind for 6 months, and they almost stole my house. I was harsh for one day, and I got my life back." "But what about forgiveness?" she pressed. "What about family? Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean letting people back into your life like nothing happened. And family doesn't mean free access to abuse you." Everyone in the room nodded. "I love my son," I continued. "I'm learning to tolerate my daughter-in-law. I adore my granddaughter. But I also love myself, and I respect myself. And I'm never again going to let someone make me feel small in my own home. Even if it's family, especially if it's family, because family should know better." Last Sunday, Derek brought Lily over as usual. She's walking now, toddling around my living room with that chaotic joy that only 1-year-olds have. She wandered into the kitchen, and Derek followed her quickly. "Lily, no, don't open Grandma's fridge." But she'd already pulled it open. She pointed at my label. "What dat?" I picked her up. "That's Grandma's cheese. See the label? It says it's mine." "Yours?" "That's right, mine. And someday, when you're older, Grandma's going to teach you about labels and boundaries and never letting anyone take your cheese." Derek looked at me, and for the first time in a year, I saw him smile without sadness behind it. "That's a good lesson, Mom." "It's the best lesson." I meant it literally and metaphorically. Because in the end, this whole ridiculous situation taught me something important. You can't let people label your life and claim it as theirs. You can't let fear or guilt or family obligations steal your peace. And most importantly, you absolutely cannot let someone label your $42 aged Gruyère and serve it to their influencer friends. Some things are worth fighting for, even if it's just cheese. So that's my story. The story of how my daughter-in-law labeled my cheese, tried to steal my house, and ended up losing everything except a valuable lesson. Did I handle it perfectly? Probably not. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, I'm still here, in my house, eating my cheese, living my life on my terms. And Michelle? She's learning to live on hers. If you enjoyed this story, leave a comment and let me know. What's your cheese moment? That moment when you finally stood up for yourself? I'd love to hear about it. And remember, label your cheese. Protect your boundaries. Don't let anyone make you feel small in your own home. Thanks for watching. This is Eleanor, signing off. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a cheese board and a glass of wine waiting for me. Because I'm a 70-year-old woman who just evicted her own son over sticky notes, and I've earned it. Like this video if it touched something in you. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories about what it means to be human, to be family, and to choose love even when it's complicated. I'll see you next time.